Thanks for stopping in at the Down the Road Show podcast, brought to you by the Murdock Worldwide Entertainment on the Down the Road Show YouTube channel and Chronicles of Comic Con YouTube channel. You're now listening to the audio podcast wherever it's available. And of course, we are sponsored by our favorite people on the planet, Everyday Natural Products. Go to enpstore.com to find out about all their natural products, including my favorite CBD products on the market. Helps with all my pain, my inflammation, and the only reason I can get out of bed to even do these podcasts for you guys. And because we have a very special guest that I've been excited to reconnect with today, hit us up in the comments, and I'm going to pick someone out of the comments to send a free sample bottle to. So go to empstore.com for more information. And let's get right to the show, because I'm excited to introduce Mr. Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees. How you doing?
I'm great, man. It's good to be with you, and good to see you. You're looking fantastic. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah.
See.
You look like you haven't aged a day, and I haven't seen you in like a decade.
It's been a long time. It's been at least 10 years, I think, right? I mean, I think maybe even long, 15 years maybe. For people that don't know, I used to work in a studio in Orange County, California before I moved to Vegas, called California Sound Studios, and it was sort of like a little family there. I was working on a solo record that I was giving away for free and all this other stuff, and you were in there doing some great work, and we became close friends and hung out, and I think we might have even done a song or two together, and so it's been a while. I think that might have been 2006, 2007, or something like that. So it's been
yeah, because I was in the studio recording my album for 2 years because I was doing it off of my bartending tips. So yeah.
Right.
And,
I remember that.
And so for those who don't know, like my 3 loyal followers on YouTube, Jeff and I go back before I ever even dreamed of doing a podcast or starting Down the Road Show or doing all this video work. So I always like to start off every show on how I know the person. So we definitely go back about, I think you're right, about 15 years now.
Yeah, it's a long time. It's at least 2007 or 2006, something like that. So 13, 14 years. But look, we had so much fun, so many good times in that studio. I mean, that was like my home away from home. Of course, the Wright family, Jesse, Nathan, they own that studio, and I think it's still there. I haven't been there in many years, but I still keep in touch with Jesse, who was like the lead engineer there, and Adam Duffy was there, and it was a fun time. The Individuals were a hip hop group that was kind of in there all the time, and it was one big party. But great experiences, and always had a blast with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of coming and goings, and Jesse Wright is the only person I ever allowed to engineer any of my music whatsoever. So shout out, Jesse. I'm sure you're watching this right now. We love you, brother. But yeah, I tell stories about being in the studio all the time. So I'm going to share one of my favorite you stories that I tell people all the time. In fact, I've already mentioned you a couple times on previous podcasts because one story at a time. Okay, first favorite, like I pride myself on my voice. You know me, and my sisters have always given me crap my entire life. And look, I'm never off key. I'm always on key, and I've always thought I was just one of those guys until I met you. Now, you like me are never on key, but you know what keys you're singing, like. And your pitch is like perfection in a way most professionals dream of, to the point. Now, I don't know if you even remember this. Do you remember that night we were bored and we tuned my acoustic guitar to your voice?
Yeah, I remember. It was pretty crazy. Hey, man, I appreciate the compliments. It's just, it's all just practice, right? I've been doing this for such a long time, and I've always sort of been gravitated towards music, and a lot of people that know me, and a lot of people don't, know that I came from a small sports town where it's not exactly the coolest thing on the planet to be in a choir or to be musically inclined.
Or to start a boy band.
Right, definitely not starting a boy band. So for me, just being around music for so long, I always had a knack for it, and really, I love being in the studio. There's a technical part and a creative part of being in the studio, as you know. And so when you're sitting there listening to sounds and tones over and over, you start to develop it's almost like a reflex, a knack for knowing where things sit pitch wise. It's not because I'm ultra talented or anything. It's a ton of experience, and you start to develop that as a muscle in your brain, and your pitch, you know.
The talent helps.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, I remember we were messing around, seeing if I was close on pitch and stuff like that. It's
and then we double checked the guitar to a tuner, and my guitar was spot on.
That's awesome, man. Well, that gives me something to brag about next time. I can talk about how I tuned the guitar.
Proof right here. Proof right here. I was there. It actually happened. But and that's one. And one of my other favorite stories about you too is we went out to dinner. We were out in Orange somewhere. It was me, you, and Jesse, and a group of people recognized you, young girls, and they just freaked out, came over to the table, and you were so good with them. You took pictures, you gave autographs, and to this day, some of the best entertainment advice ever was something you said to me that night, and I tell it to people all the time who are discouraged in the comic book scene and different entertainment scene when they're asking me, and it's very simple. I was on top. We don't have the band anymore. Why would I ever be mean to my fans? These fans will be with me for life, and they are. And now I watch you on Instagram constantly. I love watching you work and watching you produce, but you're throwing it out there to the fans, asking them, like, you know, what do you like? How do you like this track versus this track, and this vocal versus that vocal? How's your fan base helping formulate your new music?
Well, it's cool. I mean, you know, look, we all of a sudden we're all on lockdown, right? I mean, here I was with the group. We had 60-some dates booked.
Yeah. How many did you get in before you had to cut that short?
I mean, this year we had done maybe 20. So, you know, we had a whole slate of dates left, and you know, that was our business model. So all of a sudden, all of us are on lockdown. Fortunately for me, I have the luxury of having this beautiful, you know, home studio in my house. Well, let's put it to use. And not only that, let's keep the fans engaged. I mean, you know, they're not going to get to see us, and we're really lucky. And to your point, your story about how I was, you know, obviously enamored by my fans and appreciative of my fans and expressing gratitude about my fans. I mean, look, it's a roller coaster ride. Even when you're on the top, and we were on top of the top at one point, and one of the biggest groups in the world at one point, you know, all of a sudden music changes, careers change, people grow up. Our teenage fan base became adults, and they became into something else and didn't like our music. And fortunately now they're back because of the nostalgia for the whole thing. But you know, throughout that, you try to stay grounded and appreciative of it, because, you know, like 2 days before we were all of a sudden famous, we weren't famous, and we were begging people to look at us, and then, you know, look, it goes away and it comes back, and, you know, you just kind of, you're appreciative of it every moment, because you don't know when it's going to go away again. And, you know, look, this is like a kid's job, right? It's like a dream. You know, you're getting to do music.
Right.
You know, you're not slinging a sledgehammer. You're not reporting to a boss. I mean, doing music and getting up on stage and making a living at it, to enabling you to put my kids through college and, you know, live a dream and go on vacations and travel. And, you know, so I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation and honor our fans for giving me the opportunity to literally live a visualized dream. So certainly if I could do more for them, I would. And as far as, like, you know, creating this track with them, it's just something fun to do. Like, every night I work on music in here. When my kids go to bed, my wife goes to bed, I come in the studio. I don't sleep much. So I come in the studio, I work from midnight, 6, 7. I got out of here at 6, 7, 8 in the morning this morning.
I believe it.
2 hours.
I've seen it.
Yeah, you've been there. So, you know, it just flies by, because I just have so much fun in here. There's always new things to play with, and new sounds and new styles, and, you know, just to give them an insight of what it's like in the studio. Because look, you know, you get to see excerpts of people in the studio, like on American Idol or something, and then, you know, you see this glorious, you know, sort of atmosphere in these really expensive, high-end, multi-million-dollar studios, and really that's not how it is anymore. A lot of people do pre-productions out of places like this, and then, you know, you go into a bigger one to mix. Or, you know, in the case of somebody like Billie Eilish, she did that stuff in her house, all of it, with her brother. So, you know, this is just an insight of this is how it is. And there's a certain process to it. Everybody's process is different. And there's some tedium to it, because it's a lot of repetitiveness and tweaking and tuning, and your ears get fried, and, you know, you start to second guess. So I'm like, well, why not let the fans participate? Let's give them 3 versions of a verse. Let's give them 2 or 3 versions of a pre-chorus and a couple versions of a hook, and then, you know, then maybe we'll go back and play with lyrics with them. But the funny thing is, all the really creative versions that I like the best are not the ones that the fans have picked. So it just goes to show you that, you can overthink it in here, and you might be trying to be a little too tricky with melodies or styles or delivery or rhythms. And really, the fans speak it, they have their things that they like. So it's an exercise for me to find out, what people are liking too. So I'm using it as research too,
Yeah, well, and plus that makes you so you're constantly pushing your own limits too, as well as growing as a songwriter and a musician.
Right, and I think, honestly, I've been doing this now. I got my first portable studio, which was all this hardware in like 1999 or the year 2000. It was like $20,000. It was so expensive, and I had these racks upon racks of all this hardware. And now I just have it all inside my computer. I can do everything virtually. I mean, I have a couple drum machines and stuff like that and a keyboard, but you can do all of it inside the box, so they say, inside.
Yeah, you got kids out there making magical tunes just on their tablets.
Yeah, that's it, on their tablets. Like, on their tablets, and you can even mess around on the phone sometimes. You can get these apps on the phone and GarageBand on the phone, on a plane, and just pluck out some melody ideas and all that stuff. It's pretty amazing how far things have come, but nonetheless, yes, I think even during this quarantine, I think I've gotten better getting around in the studio this, weeks than in the last 3 or 4 years, because you know what? You just get distracted, or you have excuses. Like, I was always getting in the studio, but not nearly as much as I am now. So I'm like, all right, let's learn another program. Let's not just watch Fox News and CNN all day. Let's get in here, fine-tune your skills, get better, make the most out of having to be in the house.
And when you have an idea, boom, go do it.
You're right there. You're exactly right. So, and look, not all of them are good, of course, and it's really hard to write a hit, but nonetheless, keep the creative muscle going, keep the process going.
And you're right, because look, it's not easy to write a hit. My favorite song, you actually did backup vocals on my song, Valentine, and that costs me more money every month to keep up online than I ever made off of it, and which is why it's still not available. It's there for free on my YouTube. But once again, like those layers of tracks, and I'm gonna talk about you again, but your professionalism, like you were so gracious to even to agree to even do some backup vocals on that, and I come in the next day and this guy has been in there all night recording vocal tracks on my song. There was like 300 vocal tracks spread out and layered crazy, and good timing. I was just finishing up. I'm like, what, you've been here all night? And they're like, to this day, I was showing it off to some roommates the other day, and I'm like, wait, listen to what he does here. Wait for this drop and this break. Oh, they're just like, yeah. So it's like
nice, and I really appreciate the kind words. Look, it was an honor to do it. I love the song. It's such a beautiful, well-written song, and you're so soulful in the song. And I was like, anytime I can get a chance to sing background vocals, look, I'm in a 4-part group. I mean, we all just sing it's backgrounds upon backgrounds. We're influenced by all the doo-wop groups and Boys to Men, which is, just these thick backgrounds, and we spent all this time with these vocal producers in the studio, and it's this layer upon layer. I think we did one time. We used to be produced by a guy named Anders Bagge, just brilliant Swedish producer, and he just would layer vocals upon vocals, and they'd be turned down sometimes so much that you could barely hear them, but you could feel them. You can feel them in there moving everything, if that makes any sense. And so, I remember one time, I think we did a song, and there were 81 vocal tracks in there. It was just bananas. And he had the faders, which for folks that don't know what faders are, it's the levers that control the volume. He had the faders all the way down next to 0, but you're like, when he mute them and take them out, you could tell they were gone. It was just amazing. It was amazing to learn and just kind of get that gauge on how the sonics fit together and all that stuff. Not to be nerdy, but it was geeking out on the whole thing.
Yeah, well, and that's the subtlety of music that most people don't even realize sounds are there, and that is the beauty of those kinds of engineering and being a part of that. Hell, I learned a ton about music. I thought I knew all kinds of stuff, man. I learned so much while recording my album in there, and that's why when you listen to my entire album, that song Valentine, that you did the backup vocals, you could tell the difference between that song versus every other song on my entire album, especially the ones where I'm doing my own backup vocals. I'm a front man. I never learned to do harmonies. I'm loud, proud. I'm me.
Right, and that's another thing people, don't necessarily have a grasp on and understand is making a record is totally different than getting up on stage and performing. It's a whole nother science. I mean, that's why you have these ultra levels of a production of a record. You have, the track work, you have the vocal production, then you have a separate guy that comes in and mixes everything. Then you have another separate guy that does this thing called, basically the finishing touches called mastering. And it's like, it's so much of a different, animal than just getting up, picking up a mic and singing along with the band. And, it's a lot of meticulous, like detailed work, and so it's really interesting to me because you have to use your whole brain. Like you got to use both sides, the technical side and creative side, and you got to meld those together. And, for me, I really, I'm definitely ready to get back out, go back and perform. And, I got some other things in the works TV wise, but, certainly I'm going to miss having the excuse of spending all this time in the studio. And, because again, you said, I learned so much. You never stop learning because technology keeps changing. They keep giving you more tools to work with. I'm working with this program called Studio One now, and these things are called DAWs, where you create the songs, digital audio workstations. So I started off in Logic and Pro Tools, and then there's Ableton. And now I'm in the Studio One. And it's almost like learning. Every time you learn one, it's like learning a new language. And to me, it's like, wow, you can they keep creating things to make it easier for you to get your thoughts and your ideas out there and your creative sparks out there. So it's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and because of technology and the constant changing, you do have to constantly relearn new apps and new ways to approach your music and whatnot. And like definitely all that meticulousness that you're talking about in the studio that you're not prepared for, or I wasn't prepared for, has actually got me prepared for everything I'm doing now with video production and things like that.
Well, that's fantastic. So it's worth it. So, here's the thing. I mean, I have a ton of respect for you because here you were creating, you had the passion of creating it. And I know you're joking about Valentine's. It's never, it keeps you will cost more than you're making from it and all that stuff. But, look, it's a testament of your passion for your music, right? Because it's not inexpensive to go create and record in those studios. That California Sound Studios, it's expensive. And so, it says a lot about you that you're taking your tips and you're putting it into your craft and your labor of love. And it's an expensive lesson, right? You're learning on the fly how to be a recording artist instead of just a great live performer. So, and what's really pleasing to hear is it's translated again into what you're doing now with the podcast and how the technical stuff works with production and all that stuff. And all of those sort of fit hand in hand. A lot of that times with those programs, I mean, that looks fantastic.
Yes. Well, and setting the atmosphere, with art and lighting and everything. It's a production. You look at my first podcast when I was first moving into the office, like there's nothing behind me on the wall. I didn't have my lighting controlled. And like, I looked at them, I'm like, I hate this. I got to do something about it. And you can see the progression of each podcast getting visually and audio wise better.
And that's what it's about, making it better. And, the people that tune in and check you out, they get excited with the new bells and whistles and the enhancements too. I mean, look at Joe Rogan, how he's now cornered the market with these podcasts. He's just crushing it. And he started off, he was kind of just fucking around with his friends. You know what I mean? He was just, he didn't really know it was going to turn into something that as amazing as his show's become, it's quite a bit. So, you're doing the same kind of deal.
I knew his show was going to take off because look, this podcast. Okay, look, the idea for this podcast started right after I finished my album at California Sound Studios. And a friend hit me up and was like, hey, look, I want to start my own radio show. Can we do it out of California Sound Studios? I'm like, look, we'll have a meeting with them, blah, blah, blah. Then come hit me up. He's like, we can't do it there. I'm like, perfect. Let's just start a podcast from home. I got a friend with a home studio, did all that. That was 10 years ago. And now I'm re-bringing it back after 10 years. But this is something I tell people all the time. Like, I wasn't expecting to give up music the way I did and completely switch gears into video production. But at the same time, I didn't give up on my dreams of creating and being and entertaining and doing things. I realized them. It's a different dream.
Sometimes that's what it's about. I mean, look, I never thought I'd be a singer. I thought I was going to be a psychologist, or I wanted to play football and all this other stuff. But sometimes, the way is paved without you necessarily, feeling like you're in control over it. Things lead you in a direction, you follow it, evolves and becomes something different. In your case, it was, nobody thinks you gave up music. What it did is it transitioned into something that maybe, you have more of a passion for and comes more naturally to you. Not that you aren't a talented musician, you are, but look, maybe it's just something that feels better for you and sort of clicks and flows a little bit differently than music. Business is hard. I mean, we've sold close to 15 million records, and look, that's a fairly successful career, but the work never stops. Like you have to work all the time. We're getting older. We're trying to find new ways to enhance our fan base, grow our fan base, excite our existing fan base, work hard. You got to look good, period. I mean, you have to try to look good. I mean, I
showered for you today. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's part of it is, it's weird that in my, late 40s or whatever, you try to still look good, be appealing to the fan base, because
it's not weird, because the biggest part of mental health is mind, body, and soul. So it's what you're putting in your mind. It's what you're putting in your system as far as nutrition and food and getting exercise. That's a lifelong commitment. Not just it should be for everybody, not just for 98 Degrees.
Right, you're exactly right, and especially with this crazy stuff with the pandemic, with what. And I'm not going to get too political about what's going on and all that. It's a very, very tragic thing that's happening. But a lot of it is, it's attacking people that haven't maintained a healthy lifestyle. So, and that's
or have health issues they're not having, the doctors can't figure out right now.
That's right. Health issues they can't figure out, or you're just vulnerable. But what they are telling you is, look, you should be trying to take care of your immune system, take care of yourself. I'm certainly not going to lecture anybody, but part of that is just maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Look, and I like to drink and shit like that, and I like to party with the next guy, but at the same time, you got to counterbalance that by taking care of your body, and again, your mind, and all of it fits in synchronicity with each other, and you have to really pay attention to that. And I think if there is something that's going to come out of this pandemic, is people are going to be a little more conscious about their health, because this, they might be able to put a handle on this hopefully sooner than later. And you never know when, the next version of this is going to come, or it's going to reappear. You want to be physically and emotionally, spiritually, mentally prepared for something like this again. So you're not part of the vulnerable population. We're all vulnerable, but you want to be less vulnerable.
Right. No, exactly. And your overall health, especially as a traveling musician, is extremely important, because now that I never became a traveling musician, but I'm a traveling professional at conventions, and you meet so many people over a weekend and shake so many hands. We have a term for it. It's called the con crud. It's like, you go home and you look on Facebook for which of your friends are now sick. And that's like flu type symptoms in the middle of the summer too. So when all this hit, it was like, okay, I was waiting for it to get bad, and not to get all political either on how all this was handled, but boosting your immune system and whatnot. Here's another news story. I have turned on hundreds of people to what I refer to as the 98-degree flu recipe that you told me in the studio that you guys used to do whenever one of you guys would get sick, so that way you didn't have to cancel your tour. Do you remember that recipe?
Well, let me see what it is, because it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I do two versions. I do a daytime version and I do a nighttime version. And I have not had the flu past 3 days. And most of the time it's gone in a day or two at my sickest, since I've been doing this since I met you. And my whole family does it now. I got a bunch of friends who do it. But anyway, okay. So the powdered emergency.
Yes.
Airborne tablet.
Yes.
Alka-Seltzer cold and flu. That's where I switch things up, and I'll buy a nighttime and a day version. And
right.
then the Theraflu for good measure for the nighttime to really knock you out. So I have a daytime version for that and a nighttime version. And I have like for the last 10 years, like I have not had issues with being sick for longer than 3 days.
Yeah, and then the preventative one is emergency emergency and apple cider vinegar. So that's what we do. So and that's the preventative stuff. And
someone else just posted, another celebrity I follow on Instagram just posted something about that a few months ago.
Yeah, organic apple cider vinegar. So a couple of tours ago, we did two holiday tours in a row, Christmas tours. We didn't do one last year, but the 2 previous holiday seasons, we did Christmas tours. The first one, I was sick the entire time. I was going through a really stressful situation that ended up becoming a great situation, but it really wore me down, and I was sick the entire tour. You know how it is when you're traveling all the time, like you do at the cons. You get worn down and it's hard to recuperate. And once, you're doing a show every day or every other day, I was sick that entire tour. So the second time I'm like, I'm not going to get sick. So I took preventative measures to like couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with the emergency or airborne every day, once a day. And then I didn't get sick. And I feel it works. I mean, certainly we don't want to give people medical advice or dole out wives' tales or home remedies or anything like that. But
nor do either of us get a cut of profits from these companies.
Exactly, but that's what has always worked for me is the apple cider vinegar, and then I mean, if
you're shocking yourself with vitamins and all kinds of minerals. It's basic science that they used to teach in elementary school.
Right. Yeah, and so it's just about trying to take care of yourself so you can go out there and do your job.
Yeah, and once again, boom, just out there. I've done conventions sick and whatnot, but all the years I've ever performed live on a stage, I've never done it sick. I can't imagine the kind of grand scale tour that you do while being sick.
Well, I think it's frustrating because you want to put on your best show. So here's the thing. A lot of people go, oh, you're doing 40 shows. It must get boring. For us, it sounds corny, but it doesn't get boring because every night you have a different audience, right? So it's them coming to see you for the first time. They're getting their experience. So you want to be able to perform to the best of your ability. So it's a drag when you can't do it. And, that whole first tour, I was under the weather. I was able to pull off the shows, but it wasn't my best performances. And you don't want to leave anybody short. So, this second time I'm like, I'm going to go in there, kicking ass, healthy the whole time, and knock on wood, I didn't get sick one time during that tour. So, and so I took what I was doing from that, and I'm like, okay, let's just keep up that sort of ritual, that routine. Make sure your body, you're taking care of yourself, tons of vitamins, the D3, the B vitamins, all that good stuff, and to keep up with it. And trying to get rest is tough too on the road because you're on a tour bus, it's hard to sleep. And I don't sleep all that much anyway, so that's the other thing. You got to try to get your sleep.
Yeah. No, completely understand that. Try getting to sleep when the average convention you're sharing a 2-bedroom hotel room with 4 to 8 people.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, look, I mean that takes us back to when we first started out with 98 Degrees. The 4 of us used to crash, and we'd be on the road in our Winnebago doing city to city cheerleading camps and staying at the Travelodge Hotel for $39 a night, and the 4 of us would be cooped up into this. 2 of us would be sleeping on the floor, and 2 of the guys would be in the beds, and it was it's not exactly the best environment to stay healthy in.
No, but those are memories that'll last you a lifetime, and but full circle from where you are there to where you are now. I'm just glad you're on this podcast because we were previously scheduled and you had to cancel on me for Oprah.
Yeah, I mean, we did this thing called The Call to Unite that aired a couple of days ago. We were part of a big fundraiser charity event that Oprah's spearheading with Timothy Shriver and Maria Shriver, and Julia Roberts is a part of it, BB and CeCe Winans, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, like a bunch of legends, and Quincy Jones, who's my idol. He's a part of it. It was a great experience, and they raised some money for the cause, and we were happy to be a part of it. We've been asked to be a part of a lot of those, but really you want to make sure that the charity is vetted and it's going to. And those people are all extremely amazing folks and generous folks and philanthropic folks, and for us to be a part of that was a real honor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just because of the names in charge. I mean, that's one of the things you really don't have to vet it. You just have to say yes.
Yeah, you just say yes, right? When they ask you, when Oprah, and her team comes and asks you to be a part of something, you just go, oh yeah, sure, whatever, because it's going to be such a great thing. And the event, it was so well received too. I mean, it was a 24-hour event, artist after artist, speakers, presidents, former presidents. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and I saw a bunch of friends sharing it too. And but like, what are you going to be doing next? Like to prepare, what's 98 Degrees doing to prepare for future tours, especially with like a possible second wave of coronavirus, fall or spring or winter? Like, what are you guys doing? Because I know you feel very responsible for your fans.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for us, we're fortunate that our fans keep coming out and they're going to be there for us, and we want to perform for them. So for us, those handful of dates that we had announced, they haven't gone away. They just keep getting moved, and you really don't know how it's going to be structured. I mean, everything's up in the air. When is it going to be safe? How are they going to create this environment with social distancing if there isn't a vaccine anytime soon? Which, look, fast tracking it seems to be a year and a half. Therapeutic, medicines are being tried, and we're all glued to the TV every day to see what's next. But with regards to us, in the meantime, we're going to try to create. I'm working on some online content for some television outlets and some streaming outlets to keep me busy on an individual basis. As a group, we're exploring doing music together again, possibly maybe doing some records while we're in this lockdown, come up with some content. Yeah, it should be cool. And me, I'm just going to keep writing and trying to develop my skills in the studio and try to keep creating. So, I mean, that's all you can do. Keep positive, keep generating new ideas, and keep trying to push forward while we're stuck in one spot, when you're ordered to be in the house.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another reason I brought a 10-year-old dead podcast back to life, because I'm already quarantined because of my disability. So I was like, I was going a little stir crazy before everybody else was stuck at home. And I was like, I need a creative outlet because I can't go to conventions anymore and tote around my camera and everything. So I was like, I got to put out some content.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you're getting a chance to do it. I mean, you're so good at it, and you're natural at it. So I'm glad you brought it back. I'm sad to see it go away the first time. So I'm glad it's back. And look, hopefully we'll have another chance to reconnect. And if you ever need anything from me, I'm always around and I'm happy to come on, man. It just gives me a chance to find something to do too while we're stuck in the house.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And because like, look, you're one. I got a great list of celebrity friends now, and you were one of my first celebrity friends, and it taught me a lot about, wanting to be the musician I always wanted to be. You taught me a lot about the fact that we are just we're all humans. We're all going through something. And celebrities, sports figures, actors, musicians, you're normal people like everybody else with extraordinary jobs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We just have cool jobs that are looked upon differently, I've been, like I said, I've been fortunate to be able to do this for a quarter of a century now. So, I mean, I would have never dreamed that I'd still be able to be doing this so many years later. And again, for a living, So I feel fortunate and blessed, and I'm glad that we had those experiences and you took that sort of information and it meant something to you. It means something to me that had any kind of influence on you at all. But if anything, I hope people that, aspire to do this understand that while it's hard and the odds are, quote unquote, against you doing it, it's not impossible. It's just a lot of hard work, dedication, perseverance, and really the biggest thing out of all of it is self-belief. Like, it's self-belief. Some people think it's arrogance. Some people think it's cockiness. Some people think it's craziness. But really, self-belief it will get you to wherever you want to go. I mean, the tough part about it is filtering people out that'll tell you can't do it. And that'll be sometimes the closest people, your friends, your family members, people that you really trust their opinion. They're secretly, maybe not always consciously, it could be subconscious behavior, right? That they're against you having this sort of success because maybe they didn't take the risk to go out there and try it themselves.
Yeah, and if you don't risk it all, you'll get nothing.
Right. I mean, everything comes with a measured amount of risk. I mean, certainly you don't want to be careless in your endeavors. And if you don't have a certain level of talent, you don't want to be disillusioned, by that. But, certainly you can, look, we're not the most talented group on the planet. I remember when we got signed to Motown that they took us to some bar restaurant where people out of the crowd were getting up and singing in New York City called the Blue Angel. They just get up out of their seats and get up on stage and rock it. And I'm going, oh my God, we just such amazing talent out there. But the difference is, we had a work ethic and belief that we could do it. And it worked out for us. Again, maybe not the most talented group on the planet. I certainly think we have a certain level of respectable talent, but there are people out there that are more talented. It's just, they might not have had the opportunity, self-belief, or drive to go out there and try to achieve their dreams and goals.
Yeah, and well, you bring up a couple of valid points there too. Whereas in, like, look, there's a fine line between tuning out the haters, and the better you get, and the more popular that you get, and the closer you are to success, the more haters you're going to get. And like you said, those could be family members or really close old friends that you were not expecting it from. But at the same time, while you're coming up and you're trying to start these dreams, all that hard work is extremely important, but so is self-realization. So listening to the other people around you who are giving you good advice and maybe telling you, ooh, maybe that's not your best song, you're a little off key. Don't be offended. If you're off key and someone's telling you you're off key, don't be offended.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's totally different. I mean, that's called constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? So, if it's constructive criticism, you should. And again, this is a business. You need to have thick skin, because you're going to get a lot of no's and a lot of people that don't like your stuff, and that's only going to make you better. And again, you strive to get better. You take in. You filter in what you feel like is constructive criticism. It can help you mold yourself into a better artist or musician, and at the same time filter out stuff that might be coming from a bad angle or from not coming from not so good of a place. It's just about judgment, vibe, right? Knowing somebody's vibe, and sort of like your intuition plays a lot into it. But yes, certainly you don't want to turn off any criticism, because there won't be any growth there. But it's a fine line, and it's a good juggling act, and it's again another exercise in learning how to be a better person and evolve.
Right, like having a wonderful family around you in this quarantine time. So what are you doing with your family to help the entire family's mental health right now in quarantine?
Well, it's great for me because 4 out of my 5 kids are here. My 2 stepkids are here. My stepson's usually off in college, but he came and visited right before the quarantine started, so he's been here with us. My oldest daughter, I haven't gotten to see her. She's in LA. But everybody's great. I mean, one of the things that's been really cool is we have to spend time together. Like, you always find excuses throughout the hustle and bustle to maybe not spend as much time together. You kind of take it for granted. But with this, we've spent much more time together. We watch more movies together, of course, and binge watch all the streaming services, and then the homework too. Like, all the kids are, you got to maintain their education. So it's like a lot of homeschooling. I know some parents are frustrated with that. But for us, it's like, well, it's important that these guys get their educations. Unfortunately, my son was supposed to walk, and he's graduating this year. He's not going to get to walk with his class. So he's going to miss out on that, memorable moment. But,
that's horrible.
It is horrible, but I'm proud that he's graduating. He's got a scholarship for video games, believe it or not, playing video games. Who'd have thought? He's going to go to Ottawa University in Kansas on a full ride scholarship. So we're all just kind of hanging out together, and at the same time trying to stay out of each other's way too, right? So you don't get on everybody's nerves. Fortunately for us, we got our own rooms to go to. I got this place I can hide out in. But it's again another balancing act on being more courteous and more respectable, more aware of everybody's feelings. And it's an edgy time for everybody, so people are sensitive. You just gotta kind of
have a little patience.
Be super patient with everything, and be a little less selfish.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And not to go on a rant here, but like everyone posting their graduating photos of high school to be like supportive of the kids who don't get a walk. Like, I ain't doing that. That's rude. I'm not reminding them that they don't get a walk, especially because I just shared this on a previous podcast. Like, my graduating class of El Toro 93 in Orange County, you know where we got to do our walking? I don't know how. one of the kids' alumni was whatever. Anyway, Irvine Meadows, which became
Nice.
Verizon, and then
Yeah,
it's no longer there. So
Yeah.
we got to get our diplomas walking across that stage in front of a completely empty, with like 3 rows of parents, like a completely empty concert hall. And like, I was just like, one day I'm going to be back here. No, I was not.
Well, you know what? That's a pretty cool venue. They ended up closing that venue down. What's interesting about that venue is Irvine Meadows. So I have a funny story about that. So we got discovered at a Boys to Men concert. So we bought tickets. We bought tickets. We had no money, and one of the guys that was in the group charged it on his credit card. Bought these tickets to Boys to Men. We idolized Boys to Men, and they got discovered sitting backstage at a concert. Yeah, exactly. We didn't. So we actually went to that concert at Irvine Meadows, which became Verizon Amphitheater or whatever, and that's where we got discovered. We snuck backstage there at a Boys to Men concert, got discovered at that concert. So I have fond memories of that venue. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore, but I did get to go back there and perform there before it was closed down. So that's another thing that we were fortunate to have happen to us in our career.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of concerts backstage there too, because when I moved back to California in my late 20s, I was a bartender there. So guess who would not be bartending a lot and be watching the actual show?
What a good gig, right? Pretty cool.
Well, there's a reason they stopped calling me back in for bartending shifts. For good reason. I don't blame them. But to this day, some of the best concert experiences I've ever had. But speaking of binging and nerding out, like what are you and your family nerding out on and binging at home right now?
Well, not necessarily my kids. My wife and I watched all of the Ozark. Amazing. Ozark's amazing. We watched something called The Innocence Files. We just ran through all those about wrongfully accused folks that ended up finding a way to get out of prison through this Innocence Project, which is just
you need to get on Money Heist. You need to get on Money Heist. There's only 4 seasons. It's out of Spain. I say this on almost every podcast now since I finished it. It's literally poetry in television.
Now, I know there's also a movie. Do you have to watch the movie before you watch the series?
No, I never watched the movie.
Cool.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I just started the series, and the first season is like 16 episodes, I think, and then after that, they're only like 8 to 10 episode seasons. So you just fly through it.
Oh, I'm on it, man. I've seen it on there. I'm looking for something to watch next, so I'll get on that.
It's up there with Ozark for me. It's up there with Ozark.
Nice. Well, I love that one. When we flew through that one in about a day, now I'm looking back and watching older shows like True Detective and, Fargo. I started that series, and, it's like, there's just so much time.
There's just so much. And then I'm rewatching The Mandalorian right now on Disney because like that's just popcorn, awesome entertainment for this nerd who never in my entire life did I think we would have so much Star Wars content as at this point.
Yeah, since Disney, it's on a roll. They're on a roll now. So
yeah, well, they own all my favorite products now. So buy me too, Disney. What? No, I could never live under the mouse label with my potty mouth. In fact, this is probably the least amount of cursing I've done on a podcast.
You've been pretty good, man. You've been pretty good.
All right, so on that vein of entertainment, I always like to ask everybody on this show the same wrap-up questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Who's your favorite hero or superhero?
Favorite superhero? When I was growing up, it was either Spider-Man or Hulk. So it was tough for me to pick between those two, but I'd probably say Spider-Man's the coolest for me.
Why?
I don't know. It's just that's the one I liked when I was a little kid. And, I haven't, believe it or not, seen any of the Marvel movies. Not one. So that's another thing.
Not even like the original Iron Man from 11 years ago with Robert Downey Jr.
No, I haven't seen any of them. So I got to get caught up on that. I just, for some reason, haven't had a chance to watch any of those.
Okay, then you need to, when you do, then you need to go to like Rotten Tomatoes, and they have an order that you're supposed to watch them in, because the way things happen in the movies, time-wise, are not the same chronological order that they were filmed and produced.
Duly noted. I'll make sure I do that.
Yeah, so it'll actually help with the overall storyline of everything they did over 11 years, and including the Spider-Man movies that are in there too. So
I'm on it.
Yeah, so jump on that when you do that. But your heroes in any kind of entertainment are only as good as their opposite. Who's your favorite villain?
Favorite villain? Probably the Joker. I mean, I know that sounds like a lame thing to say because he's like the character in so many movies, but look, that character is now garnered two Academy Award winners. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just a great character. It's a cool villain. I think some of the old school. I read the comic books, so I had the comic books. So I had the Spider-Man comic books. Doc Ock was always some of those original comics were just awesome. So yeah, I think probably Joker's my favorite villain.
And that's so you just showed so much nerd cred right now. We're talking about the original comic books and the fact that you own those, and that's why. So like, yeah, that means a lot.
I've got boxes upon boxes of comic books somewhere in storage. I had the first Punisher that ever came out, all the Punisher series. I wonder if they're worth anything. Maybe I can sell them, give them my kids or something.
That's your kids' college fund right there, or actually that'll be your kids' college fund right there. That'll by the time you sell those, trust me, they'll be worth plenty. Yeah, that's awesome. I did not know that about you. Who is your real life hero? Who inspires you?
Look, I think about, I was always inspired by my dad. He was he's a successful guy, still working. He's in his 70s and always been a big success story. Everybody that's ever been around him likes him. He's always bettered himself in his career, and he never stepped on anybody on the way. Always a guy with great integrity. And you know what? Not to sound corny, but my wife is a hero to me. She's really, this is my second time around in marriage, and this time is much different than the first time. And when we knew each other, I wasn't married, and I was going through a very tough personal time. And my wife came into my life and helped me pick up all the pieces, helped me get both of my kids, helped me get them to graduate, and really helped me get back on track with my career. So I owe a whole hell of a lot to her. I mean, I don't think I can ever repay her for everything that she's done in my life. She completely changed things around for me. I mean, I was in a really bad spot. And right after I met her, just everything turned around for me. So I have a lot of gratitude in my heart for her.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. And it is, you should, your personal heroes should be that close to you in life. And mine's my mom. So hopefully someone will come off screen and snatch me up like happened to you. So,
hey, I didn't expect it to happen. I never planned on getting remarried. I was pretty set on, look, I did it. It didn't. It wasn't for me. I don't need it. I just need to be a good dad and find a way to get my career going. But it happened when I least expected it. And again, there's that thing that the universe or God or whatever you believe in sort of plans things for you, and you don't really know what's coming next, and you just sort of ride the wave. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I say that all the time. The universe wants you to be happy.
That's it. The universe wants you to be happy, and the universe wants you to be successful. There's an abundance out there. It's about getting through the roadblocks right in here, And
in here, we get in our own way so much.
No question about it. No question about it. I mean, look, and I still get in my own way. And you gotta sit there, and you have to be conscious about your decisions and be focused on the way you're thinking. And, you got to get those mental roadblocks out of the way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because anxiety is worrying about the future, and depression is thinking too much about the past. And either one makes you not present in your current situation in life.
You're spot on, man. Spot on.
So we like to get deep on this show. It's not all about nerdy entertainment. Well, brother, it's a pleasure catching up with you. Hell, who knows? Next time I'll hit you up next time I'm in Vegas once all this stuff is weird, because I might be doing some traveling here real soon anyway because of current situations. But we were talking about that before the podcast. We won't bring that up now. But I look forward to seeing you in person again. It's been forever.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to see you having success, and stay in touch with me. And anytime you need me, just hit me up. No,
absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. And love to have the entire group on in the near future if you guys are available.
We'll do it. I'll get the guys together. We'll come on.
All right, and tell Oprah she owes me $5.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. All right.
All right, love you, brother. We'll see you down the road.
See ya.